Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of 52 Authors, 52 Weeks. I am joined today with the Melanie Herschorn, and I had to practice that. Hopefully I got it right, who is the author of Making a Big Impact with Your Book. One of the things that I want to just tell you all, I wish that I would have read this book before writing my book, but I truly believe in no experience left behind. I took the plunge and got the book out there, right? And so now it's only up from here. Hi, Melanie.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Lisa. Now, I know nobody knows anything about me right this second, but I just have to say to you, your book doesn't fall off a cliff. So whenever you get the opportunity to start marketing it, you can make a big impact with it. So the whole judging thing that we authors do to ourselves, let's leave that at the door.
Love it, love it, love it. See, one gem right out the gate. So, Melanie, tell our listening, viewing audience about who is Melanie, right? What have you been doing? What do you plan to do? Just tell us about you.
Okay, well, I am a mom of two, and I have a dog and a cat. And when I'm not in front of my computer in exactly this spot, I'm running around helping those people. But what I am is a book marketing strategist and a publisher, an independent publisher. And so my whole reason for being is to help people amplify their voices. I've learned through a lot of self reflection and work that I always felt like I didn't have a voice. And so my goal is to always help people find their voice. And I've basically been doing that my whole career. I started out in celebrity PR in Hollywood, and then I got a master's in journalism, and I worked in news radio. And I was constantly bothering my news director to do stories that really were helping, giving voice to the voiceless. So I was always fighting, like, how about these kids who have, are in the foster system and nobody's paying attention to them? And how about these kids at a bereavement camp? So I was constantly just doing that. And then when I was 5 months pregnant with my first child, I got laid off. And I went, oh my gosh, I am unemployed and unemployable because who's going to hire a pregnant woman? But I was very lucky that the local newspaper picked me up and I started working on their school beat. And sure enough, first day, I got a above the fold first front page story about kids who didn't have pencils or paper to take tests in the school district. Because again, giving people voice to the voiceless. So final point I will say is that after that, I decided to manufacture and design breastfeeding clothing, which was a bit of a left turn, but I did that. I sold my clothes on Nordstrom.com and Amazon and other boutiques. And then I hired somebody to help me with my marketing. And she was, she basically helped me run the business into the ground. She belittled me at every chance she got. And so when I closed the business, I thought, what can I do now? And I realized that marketing was kind of the through line of my career, and that I was, again, helping people with their amplification of their voice. And so when authors started calling, I went, okay, universe, I'm hearing you, and I'm going to do this. And that was a very long-winded answer to your question.
But you know what? That was great because what you've done is let our listening, viewing audience that the end of a thing is not the end of you, right? So you decided, I'm pregnant, I can't work that job, but that wasn't the end of you. You pivoted and transitioned to another space. I think oftentimes we take the end of something as the end and be all, and it's not. You have to end something before you start the next thing. But let me just be clear in telling you all, once you end the thing, then you get into the newness. I like to call that the messy middle part of that
You're
journey.
going to say messy middle. Yep.
Yes, because it's the part where You have to become comfortable being uncomfortable, but that's where the magic happens because you experience this newness. You get to know yourself so intimately that when you get to step 3, you are rocking and rolling. And that transition is not the only transition that you're going to be in. You're going to continue to transition. You're going to continue to evolve. And that's a good thing, right? Because who wants to do the same thing for 50 years, right? You don't really get to learn and grow. So I'm glad that you gave that long explanation because you just helped someone out of that space that they were stuck in, thinking that the end of the thing was the end, and it wasn't.
Thank you. I really hope that, there's that line that says, the one constant in life is change. And it's really hard to embrace change. It really is because again, you don't know what to expect. But sometimes, and actually I would say all the time, the change is for the better.
Absolutely. I will tell you that when I was in the middle of writing my book, I was in transition. I was changing out of a place that really, if I could be honest, wasn't good for me, but I was there because I was comfortable. And I personally made a decision. I was no longer going to be held hostage by salary and benefits, and that I needed to impact a larger audience. And once I made that transition, whoa, I will tell you, when I was writing this book, I was crying to the computer, recording my chapters. But it was so freeing for me that the woman that you see standing in front of you today at 50 young years of age, she's ready with her boxing gloves on, ready to tackle the world and help others with their voice. So many of my listening viewing audience have asked about, writing the book. And I know your book is about making the big impact, marketing strategies. I told you I had a strategy, but it wasn't really a good strategy. Well, I wouldn't say it wasn't a good strategy. It
I
just
would.
wasn't what I thought it would be. But I've learned and have grown in the process. And so the next book and everything else I do afterwards, I have all these tools in my tool belt that I'll be able to execute.
Exactly. Was
So
there a question in there that I missed? No.
no
Okay.
question, but I do want you to tell our listening and viewing audience, first they have to buy the book. So we can't tell them all the things, right? They have to get the book. But tell our listening viewing audience where to begin in this journey of, let's say they've already written their book. What do they do? Maybe they haven't written their book. What's the first place they should start at?
Okay. So whether you've published a year or two ago, or you're looking at a cursor flashing on a blank page right now, the first thing you want to focus on is your mission. Why are you writing, or did you write this book? And Lisa, you probably know this because you're an author. Sometimes it's really hard to walk around going, I wrote a book, everybody. Everybody look at me. You start to think, oh gosh, I'm annoying my audience, or I look like I'm full of myself or whatever. So when you focus on the reasons that you wrote or that you are writing this book, that it makes all the difference. I just recently we made bestseller on Amazon in 3 categories. Thank you. And like number 1 in 3 categories. And when I asked people to help support me, I didn't say, hey, I wrote a book. Can you support me? What I said was, we want to get to number 1 so that we can help more authors fulfill their mission of selling their books and getting their voice out there. And that's so much easier to enroll people in because, no matter what we do online, the only thing we're actually thinking in our brains is what's in it for me.
Uh-huh.
You open anything, any web browser, any Google, whatever. All you're thinking subconsciously is what's in it for me. And if there's nothing in it for you, you're gone. 3 seconds or less, you're gone. So when you want to really develop a strong marketing plan, a marketing strategy, always think those 2 things. What's my mission? How is it going to impact others? And how can I show them what's in it for them?
I love it. I love it. And you know what? As I think about writing my book, it was really about me sharing my journey and really shedding things that were holding me hostage, that was preventing me from growing to the place that I know I'm supposed to be. I've been growing for the last 50 years, right? But there was another place, another level that I needed to get to. And in order to get there, I had to let go of past hurt and pain and regrets. And something that you said that just hit me in terms of those that are thinking about writing the book, don't get caught up in the mess. Focus on the message that you're going to share with the world. Those of us that live to tell our story, there's a reason that we live to tell our story, right? So that we can make an impact on others.
Goosebumps.
We're on the
I
other
just got
side
goosebumps
of it,
from that. Yeah.
right? But some people don't make it. And if you can tell your story and impact others, you've done what you're supposed to do. And you're right. It's not about us. It's about the reader who's going to open the page up and really feel some of the emotions that we felt when we were capturing the words on paper. I know my last chapter of my book, I wrote in Jamaica, and I cried the entire time that I was, and I'm going to say writing, but really I was I was speaking to the computer. Two ways. Number one, I was just doing like a video without my camera on and just talking. Other ways, I just opened up Microsoft Word and started typing. But I was speaking and crying, sitting on the beach of Jamaica. And afterwards, I got dressed to go to an event. And there was this glow that was over my face that was very visible. And as I started walking into the room with others, they were like, wow, you look different than you did earlier that day. And I didn't have a strategy for the chapter. I just spoke the words, and then the title came at the end. So I focused on the message and not the mess. And that's what got me to the end of it.
What a beautiful experience that you had. It was cathartic. And if you think about kind of like the juxtaposition of it, like you're sitting in like what I think is one of the most beautiful places on the planet, sobbing, right? I mean, you wouldn't think to be crying on a beach in Jamaica, and then you come and you've shed it all and you're glowing and you're letting go. I think that so often we hold on so tight to things that we get like nail imprints in our palms because we're holding on so tight. And when you say, wait, why am I holding on so tightly to this belief? Why? And then you can let go of it. You up level your humanity, yourself as a human, really.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I am so enjoying this conversation. So I got a question for you. In your
Sure.
book, you make this statement: no one is born knowing how to market their book. Why,
Amen.
why was it important for you to make that statement? Because I think many of us think, well, I wrote the book, so clearly I can market the book.
So I'm a marketer, right? Like you would call me somebody who does marketing all the time. I need guidance. So often it's really hard to see the label when you're inside the bottle. And people, but then we beat ourselves up. I wrote this book. Why don't I know how to get people to read it? But it's like that analogy of birthing a book. If you give birth to a child, whether you're a man or a woman, you can envision this. You don't need to have kids for this analogy. So you give birth to the book, right? But you don't just drop it off on the side of the road and hope it raises itself. It takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to raise a book. So being an author can be such a lonely experience. So doing it alone, you're not going to get as far as when you understand what's involved from those who have gone before you and done it successfully. But I put that line in there because it's so important for people to stop blaming themselves and shaming themselves. Well, I should know how to do this. Well, guess what? You're an expert in your thing. You can't be an expert in everything.
Oh my gosh. Let me tell you, I'm getting emotional right now because, and we don't like, I don't send you questions in advance. We hop on, we have this authentic conversation. So I'm going to share with you. This is how the universe, we know the universe, the stars are in alignment. My first and only biological daughter that I gave birth to was via a C-section. So I never got to experience what it was like to go into the delivery process, right? The pushing, right? The dilation of the centimeters. But the journey that I'm on now as the growth motivator, I have a village. And in this village, for me, even releasing the book, I had several midwives who were at my side who kept saying, push, push, push. And when I birthed this book, I birthed and actually closed the door on a lot of things. And so that village, that community is so important. And I'm so glad you said that because it lets me know I'm at the right place, at the right time, with the right person, and that we are going to impact so many people.
Absolutely. And as a person who also had C-sections only, um, you're still a mom and you still gave birth. But yeah, and I love that you had these doulas helping you, or midwives as you called it, helping you give birth. And now your community, your audience, those are the people that are helping you raise it. Because what's so cool about being an author or being any kind of artist, truly, you hear this a lot from singer-songwriters who say, I wrote a song, I wrote a line, and the audience interpreted it differently than I thought of it, but it's taken on a new life and it means something else. And it's the same thing with your book. You know, you can write something and it's going to impact people maybe in a different way than you meant it, but it's still having impact. And that's just such a beautiful
Yes.
thing.
Yes, I love it. So I have to ask, we have about 12 minutes left. What's your favorite part of the book?
The end? No. Because it was
Amen
finished.
to that, right? Getting to that last part, right?
It's hard. I mean, gosh, it is so hard to reread and reread and reread. And then you start nitpicking everything you said. Well, should I say that? Does somebody want to hear this? I don't know. And then eventually you get to the point where you just never want to see it again. And then you get past that eventually and you're able to open it again. No, my favorite parts are the parts where I'm bearing my soul.
And that's what
Because
I love because you left it, you put it all out there for us, right? That Melanie was a real person, that she had real feelings, real thoughts, right? And you weren't sugarcoating the information, right? You gave it to us in the raw. And that's what people need, right? We got enough of that reality TV out there. We need someone who is really experiencing things and is helping us navigate our own journeys. And as a reader myself, I generally have, I'm embarrassed to say this,
please don't
probably
be.
10 or 15 books that are on my desk that I'm like, all right, I'm done with this one. All right. So I'm flying out every week. So I'm reading a different book, right? On my flight there, on my flight back. And as I delve into these different journeys of others, I'm like, whoa, I'm not the only one. Now I said I'm not embarrassed, but my husband's like, whoa, you got a lot of books that are coming to this door, right? Every day there are books that are arriving at our door.
Maybe he's just jealous because he doesn't have books arriving at the door for him.
Well, he likes to watch TV, so he's not really into the books. But I will tell you, a lot of the information that I read in books has helped me in how I interact with him, how I interact with our children and others that I'm involved with, because I've been reading, reflecting, writing, learning, growing, all the INGs, not marketing, but that's on my list.
Well, this is marketing. We've talked about your book and your mission and your story. So this is marketing too. So
Yes. Well, and you know what? Speaking of, in your book, you start off by saying it starts with a mission. And I think that again, I keep saying this, but a lot of us, we have a mission, but we're stuck. What are people going to think about me? They
Mhm.
didn't know. Like I wrote in my book that shortly after having my daughter, who is special needs, in 2024, she's 32 years old. And there was a time where I decided that I didn't want to be here. And I took 30 Tylenol. And I can't remember if I wrote this in the book, but I remember being in the back of that ambulance. I remember charcoal being put into my system to pump the Tylenol off. I remember going to the psychiatric hospital for a few hours to get an evaluation. And I think that I never shared that part of me with others, but once I did, others were like, whoa, we thought you were perfect. Nobody is perfect. I just don't look like what I've been through. But sharing it has helped others because now they're like, oh, I can definitely grow as well. I just have to stop feeling sorry for myself and get going. So you have to have a mission.
Yeah, I love what you said. I just don't look like what I've been through.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful line. And that resonates so deeply. Sure, we do our hair, we have a purpley blue jacket on, we have cute earrings, we put on makeup, but what have we really been through? And your book is an amazing way to really share the truth. And and once it's out in there, once it's out of the universe, it's there. And you don't have to feel the shame or feel like you have to bury it. And then you can kind of almost make it your own and say, okay, stay strong and say, okay, well, now this is in the book, so now it's okay to be out there in the world. It's almost
Yeah.
like validating you in a way.
Yes. Yes. You talked about a couple of things you mentioned, makeup. When I started this journey for 52 weeks, 52 authors, I was like, I'm going to have my makeup on and I'm going to have all the things. And I was really like, you know what? You speak about authenticity, transformative experiences. Nobody wakes up every day with a full makeup job done, right? So I
Well, maybe
decided,
a Kardashian does, but
yeah,
only the Kardashian.
they have a team and they have money to do the things, right? So I decided that again, I'm not going to get caught up in the mess. I'm going to focus on the message. I also want our listening viewing audience to know that all you have to do is take the first step towards executing your journey. You don't have to have a title. I didn't have a title for my book until after the entire book was written. I was
Me
sitting
too.
outside with my husband and one of our friends, Chris, and we were like trying to figure out what could we name the book, right?
Mm.
And my friend Chris was like, "Well, you're the growth motivator, right?" I was like, "Yes." And so he was like, "The name of the book is Grow with Me." And that was such a perfect title because the book was about me growing, but it's helping others grow as well. So it wasn't until the end. Also, we didn't have the titles of the chapter. I literally was just speaking to the computer, crying, right? And believe it or not, if you talk to the computer for 30 minutes, you will have a couple of chapters um, instantly without worrying about, okay, what happens next? And then you also talked about the editing process, right? I will tell you, my editor, Kathy, publisher, she probably wanted to strangle me, right? Because I've gone through the doctoral journey, right? And you had to write, they send it back to you, and it's not right, and they send it back to you. So it was one point, she was like, send me the file. Said it just like that. Send me the file. She was like, it's good. She was like, your editing skills and rearranging things were great. She said, let me put my little spin on it. I'll send it back to you and then we can move forward. But for that moment, me trying to make it perfect, instead of meaningful, I kind of got stuck. But then once she, said to me, send me the file, I was like, okay, I'm done with this stage. Let me get my life together, because I was literally stuck, right? Just trying to, sometimes we compare ourselves to other authors. Well, what do they have at the end of their book that's different from my book, right? Just getting caught up in all those messes. And so I had to realize, and I learned this from reading a book called Who Not How, that I had to focus on what I was trying to share with my audience and let other folks worry about the other stuff, right? Because I can't be the author, the marketer, the editor, the publisher, all the words that, end in ER. I couldn't be those, I couldn't be all of those people. And so once I let go of that, I was able to move forward. But it was rough because I was having this conversation in my head.
Totally. And so often we think, well, it has to be perfect. It has to be perfect right now. It's like I clean up before my cleaning lady comes because I don't want her to have mess. I'm like, wait, why am I? Well, I just feel bad. Like it's silly.
You straighten up, because I do the same thing, because you don't want. Well, first of all, and my cleaning company told me that sometimes they will go into houses and people are expecting us to clean up before they clean the house, right? Like getting stuff off the floor. So I'm very intentional by making sure that all the, sheets are washed and all of those things, so that they can come and do what I don't have to do, which is to actually clean. Like, so I mop, right? We don't have a cleaning company every month. It's like quarterly. But when they come, I don't want them trying to move around my big stack of chapters for my next book, right? And all the paper and all of that. So I like straighten it up, but it's not perfect, right? They still got to come in and do what they're good at doing, which is what I'm not good at doing.
So all that to say, it isn't perfect when we do it. And
it's
that's okay. It's okay. It's okay, right? It's okay. Especially with marketing. Marketing is not going to be a perfect science or a perfect art. It's a test. You try things, you see what works. If it works, great, keep doing it. If it doesn't work, great, try something else. Not everything is always going to land. Maybe you're going to have one audience and you realize that's not really the ideal audience. So try a different audience. It's okay. There aren't right and wrong answers like in math class in 4th grade.
Oh my God. We allow those past hurt, past things to hold us hostage from moving forward. And we can't do that. I will tell you that when I was in 3rd grade, my mom was told that I needed to repeat the 4th grade because I didn't have excellent reading and comprehension skills, right? Just turns out that my parents were getting a divorce. I changed schools, and the new school was like, no, she's fine. So that situation, I didn't allow it to hinder who I've become, right? Because I believed in me. My father always took us to the library to read books, right? I think that's why we stayed out of trouble, because we were in the library reading. But listen, I want our listening, viewing audience to know a couple of things. Number one, I know you are a marketer, right? But they need to know who you serve, how you serve them, how they can find you, because there are some folks that have that book that's sitting in their belly that they need to give birth to.
Absolutely. So we are a soup to nuts independent publisher. So we help write, publish, we get the editors, the cover designers, the interior designers, and we also have a whole book promotion, offering, so that no matter where you are in the journey, we can support you so that you are getting your book out there and you are making a big impact. And one of the things I want to say fast, because I know we're running out of time.
Keep going.
Okay. Is that we're not going to get rich on book sales because we're not J.K. Rowling and we're not Stephen King.
That part.
And that's why one of the things we work on with our authors is developing alternative revenue streams from the book. So maybe that's creating a course, creating trainings, pitching you to big speaking events, because there are a lot of speaking events where you can't get on the stage without a book, or media opportunities. When the media is looking at who to talk to as an expert, they're going to pick the one with the book, probably 10 times out of 10. And, podcast guesting opportunities. We help with these strategies as well, because your book, people get so focused on the launch. It's like, oh, I got to launch, launch, launch. Well, then what happens is those who don't have a marketing strategy after launch, it just fizzles. And then there's that shame game and the blame game. I shoulda, woulda, coulda. Then they end up with a box of books in their closet collecting dust. And so that shouldn't happen. It doesn't have to happen to you, because no matter where you are, you can start marketing right now.
Absolutely. I mean, there are some books that I read that they're still marketing today, and the book was written 5, 10 years ago, and their marketing game is still strong. So I will tell you that as I was reading this book, I was like, okay, girl, that's right. Sometimes you got to talk to yourself. You need to get it together for the next part of this journey. And I'm okay with that, right? Because I am clear in my thought process of I have to continue growing, learning, transitioning so that I can get to the next place. And that's what you did with your journey, right? I mean, who would have known you were selling something in Nordstrom's, right? It was Nordstrom's, right? You were selling something in Nordstrom's, right? And there's experiences that you had with that journey who contribute to the Melanie today. No experience left behind. You took all that stuff and brought it forward.
Oh, I love that you said that. Okay, so my grandma is 99 and
Oh,
almost.
okay. My grandfather is 103.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. So unfortunately, she isn't as with it as she used to be. But when she was at her prime, up until about a year ago, she used to say, everything you do goes into the pot, and you never know when you're going to need to draw from that experience. And so that's something that I fully believe in. So even though, when I was 18, I couldn't get a summer job. All my friends were off at overnight camp having a blast, and I got a job in a book warehouse where I was packing books in boxes. This goes back, this is full circle, okay? All the other people who worked there were men who were of Jamaican origin, so they taught me some of their Jamaican patois.
Yeah, man.
The way you get.
Yeah.
So I was a fish out of water, obviously, because I was like this girl in this warehouse with all men, but this was their full-time job. But what did I learn in that? I learned about books. I learned about packing boxes, which is an art form, which I had to do when I had my clothing company. So even though I was in this job and I thought, well, this isn't what I want to do when I grow up, it's amazing how you can draw from different experiences and they help you in your life. And you never know when that's going to happen.
That is so true. My grandma used to say, get all you can and can all you get, which is basically the same thing your grandma told you, right? So all the things that I've learned over the last 50 years, I'm bringing them forward. Even things that she said to me that I didn't understand then, I understand now. But I also, since she's gone, I understand her better as I've gotten to understand myself.
Beautiful.
So it has been such a pleasure getting to know you. You have no idea how much I've grown by interviewing one author after the next. I feel so blessed to have met you. This is not the end. I said 2025, I got to do kind of a where are they now segment, right? After the 52 weeks, where are we all? What are we doing? How have we grown, right? So thank you so much for coming to share your story, the big impact. And did you tell our listening viewing audience how to find you? I don't think you
I
said that.
did not. No, I did not. But you can get all the fun things on my website, which is vipbookmarketing.com. And so for those who purchase the book, there's a special area where you can get extra stuff.
I am a witness because I have the iPad version of the book because I'm on the go so much. I have it in my iPad, and there's so many cool things in the book. And on my iPad, I can highlight and do some other things because when I'm reading, I'm reflecting, sometimes, crying. But in the book, you give so many tips. But let me just tell folks, you can't read the book and be an instant marketing expert You still need a team. And a team doesn't mean someone that you employ full time. That's a misconception. Your team can be a bunch of folks that provide services to you based on their zone of genius to help you get to where you're trying to go. Doesn't mean you have, accountant on payroll, right? If you're paying all these people full time, you will not be paying yourself at all.
That is so true. And as entrepreneurs, we often forget to pay ourselves. So that's number one.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I wish you the best of luck. I wish that authors will be knocking at your door, potential authors, right? Those that have that book that's burning in their belly and they're ready to get it out, or even those that have said, my book is out, but I haven't done a whole lot with it. They're looking for you as well. So thank you so much and have a great day.
Thank you.